is simply a matter of creating a base class and then declaring the inheritance in your class definitions. Let's take a look at a simple example. So let's make a working copy of simpleinheritance.cpp from our exercise files chapter 9, and we'll paste this into the working project and double click on it to open it up. I'm going to go ahead and maximize this. In this case, we have a base class called animal and 3 classes that inherit from it. We have dog, cat, and pig. So animal is the base class and dog, cat, and pig are the derived classes. Some people use the terms parent and child, but that's not as common. The animal class is really very simple. It has 3 private data members for the name, type, and sound of the animal. It has a public method called speak and a protected constructor. The protected access specifier may be new to you. It means that these members are only accessible through derived classes. So by having the constructor of protected access and the default constructor as private access, we're really making sure that this base class cannot be instantiated on its own. Only its derived classes may be used as objects. So if you have a class that you don't want to have used by itself, this is a good way to prevent it from being constructed. Now let's take a look at the dog class. Notice on line 28, we declare the class dog, and we declare it as inheriting from animal. So there's a colon followed by an access specifier and the name of the class that is being inherited, the name of the base class. The access specifier here is a little bit different than what we might be used to. This basically controls how the base class members will be accessed by code that uses your derived class. This will almost always be public. It's very, very rare to see any other access used here. Now notice the constructor for the dog class. On line 31, it has initializers that call a base class constructor and initialize a private member variable. So you see right here, we're actually calling the constructor for the base class, and we're providing it with the name and the sound for the dog. And here we're initializing our own private data member, which is not part of the base class. And you'll notice I've also provided a public method for walking the dog. So the cat class is very similar. It inherits also from animal. It has its own private data member for how many times it's been petted. And the pig class, again, works the same way and has its own private data member for its being fed. So here in main, we instantiate 3 objects, 1 dog, 1 cat, and 1 pig. We give them names, and we go ahead and use them. So let's bring this back down, and we will compile and run it, and look at the results here. So here we're calling speak for each of these, and the speak method is in our base class. And it's right here. It says name, the animal says sound. So here we have Rover the dog says woof, Fluffy the cat says meow, Arnold the pig says oink. And we see where these names come from. The type of animal and the sound is in these constructors in the derived classes, and the name of the animal, in this case Rover, Fluffy, and Arnold, that gets passed into that constructor for each animal. And then it gets passed to the base class in that constructor. And now here I walk the dog, I pet the cat, and I feed the pig, and you see that that increments these counts. So for instance, if I walk the dog a few more times, let's come down here to the end, and we'll compile that and run it. We see the dog has been walked 2 times and then 3 times. So class inheritance in C++ is really very simple. It's also very powerful. We'll look at some more complex examples in the rest of this chapter. Now let's delete our working file